Hello, everyone. Professor Kurzlook here. So, when we think about power in international politics, many of us might think of or visualize pictures of armies and weapons or even economic pressure. Tanks, sanctions, trade wars, military alliances, things we hear in the news every single day. These are the traditional tools states use to influence each other. Political scientists call that hard power. Hard power is the ability to get others to do what you want through force or coercion. It includes military actions, maybe threats of military actions, threats of violence, maybe economic sanctions. Economic sanctions if you won't listen to what the sender state wants. It could be tariffs or other forms of pressure. If a country changes its behavior because it fears punishment or hopes for material reward, that's hard power at work. So, for much of history, hard power dominated how we understood international relations. Empires expanded through conquest, states deterred rivals through military strength, wars reshaped borders. But in the late 20th century, scholars began to notice something else was happening. Countries were also shaping the world in quieter ways through culture, through values, and through attraction. This is what political scientists call soft power. The concept was popularized by the political scientist Joseph Nye, who argued that power isn't only about forcing others to comply. Sometimes you get what you want because others want what you want. So they admire your society, they might trust your institutions, or they might find your culture appealing. Soft power is thus more is about persuasion and attraction, not coercion. It flows through movies, through music, through education, technology, lifestyle, and political ideas. When people voluntarily adopt another country's norms or feel drawn to its way of life, that country is experiencing soft power. Think about how American culture spread globally during the 20th century. Hollywood movies, American fast food, pop music, really rock and roll music, American genes we see as an example often, and ideas about democracy all traveled far beyond U.S. borders. Many people around the world grew up consuming American media and associating the United States with freedom, with opportunity, and with modernity. That didn't happen because of solely the use of military force. It happened through cultural influence. And again, that's soft power. Now, let's think about how that's maybe different than hard power. If the United States imposes economic sanctions on a country, that's hard power. If NATO deploys troops to deter Russian aggression, that's hard power. If a government threatens tariffs unless another state changes policy, that's hard power. Hard power works through pressure. Soft power works through appeal. Most countries actually use a combination of both. Again, Joseph Nye sometimes called this smart power, blending coercion and attraction strategically. So, I made a video about China Maxim. And so let's connect this hard and soft power to to China maxing. So how does this connect with what we talked about with China maxing? So China provides a pretty interesting modern case. Through much of our textbooks, we learn about America as their using of soft power, but we're starting to see more and more of China's use of soft power. So on the hard power side, China has expanded its military, built artificial islands in the South China Sea, and used economic pressure against countries that criticize it. These are really classic tools of state power. But China also is and has invested quite heavily in soft power. It promotes Chinese language education abroad, funds cultural centers, supports global media outlets, and showcases its cities and technology. Chinese apps, products, and infrastructure projects are now part of everyday life in many countries. And increasingly, young people encounter China not through simply government statements coming out of Beijing, but through TikTok videos, through food culture, fashion, and urban imagery. Things we talked about in the China maxing video. So that's soft power working at a level of our everyday experiences, how we engage with soft power. What makes this especially interesting for political scientists and students of political science is that soft power today oftentimes spreads without governments fully controlling it, endorsing it, or putting it out themselves. Social media actually accelerates this process. A viral video of Shanghai's nightlife or Beijing's subway systems can shape perceptions faster than any official release from the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing. People form impressions based on what they see online, not necessarily what diplomats or government officials are saying, but instead simply what they see on their YouTube short or their YouTube video of China. So that's why something like China maxing matters politically. It shows how global influence now travels through digital culture. But soft power does have limits. Being admired doesn't automatically translate into political support. Someone might love Chinese food or technology while still opposing China's political system. Cultural attraction doesn't erase concerns about censorship, surveillance, or human rights. So soft power is fragile. It depends on credibility. When a country's actions contradict its image, soft power can collapse rather quickly or degrade over time. We've seen this with the case of the United States. America's soft power did decline after events like the Iraq War or January 6th, when global audiences questioned the U.S. democratic stability. So here's a takeaway for students. Hard power can force compliance in the short term. Soft power shapes preferences in the long term. Both do indeed matter, but soft power works more slowly, more subtly, and at times more unpredictable. And today, soft power increasingly flows through social media, popular culture, technology, maybe lifestyle imagery, and everyday digital experiences. So that brings us to a final point. For most of modern history, international politics was something done by states. Leaders negotiated treaties, armies fought wars, citizens watched from the sidelines. That's no longer fully true or the full picture. Now, ordinary people participate in global politics simply by scrolling social media, by posting online, sharing particular articles, and consuming culture. Every meme, trend, or viral video, contributes in small ways to how countries are perceived. Soft power has been becoming thus decentralized. So when you see trends like China maxing, don't see them just as a simple one-off, maybe an internet joke or something like that. Um, um, Instead, we can see them as a glimpse of how global influence is evolving, how culture and politics blend, and how power now moves through phones as much as through parliaments. And there's a real lesson there about how we think about global power. Thank you.